streaming.
Perfect. Well, thank you everyone for joining us today for our December 9th regular scheduled community meeting of the Transform Fresno Outreach Oversight and the TCC work. Thank you all for joining us on this Wednesday evening, I think it is today. It's been a hectic week for all of us here in the city, so the days are getting away from me. This evening, we'll be covering a few updates for the public. We will start off with the Southwest Urban Forest expansion. That presentation will be provided by Miguel Ramirez in the city of Fresno. We'll move on to the new Transform Fresno website and community engagement partner by Christopher and Christine from Fresno Eoc. And then we'll move on and finalize the day and the evening with the Displacement Avoidance Plan consultant with Dr. Thomas for any Q&A on the Displacement Avoidance Plan. With that, I'm going to officially turn over the meeting to our point person in this body of work and the lady who keeps us all on schedule, Courtney. The meeting is officially turned over to you.
Thank you, Council President Arias. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us on this Wednesday evening. Appreciate you all taking time out of your busy schedules to join us. So let's go ahead and get started. I want to introduce Miguel Ramirez. He's with the City of Fresno, and he is the project manager for project number 11, the Southwest Urban Forest Expansion. So Miguel, you should have the rights to, share your screen and go for it.
Perfect. Hi, everybody. Miguel Ramirez with the City of Fresno. I am the project manager for project number 11, the Southwest Urban Forest Expansion. This is a little bit, this is a project area map of my project, what it consists of. 150 trees on Jensen and fruit. Elm, those are the medians on elm. Between Jensen and Ventura is another 80 trees. Jensen median, 41 to MLK is 35 trees. And then we did 2 community events at Chandler Park and Tubman Park, each with 15 trees. So just want to show you a little before picture of Jensen and fruit. So you'll see on here, we got 3 different pictures. We got Arthur Avenue, Jensen and fruit. This is the buffers around the habitat community. So our team started in early November, and this is what it looks like now. We've planted 150 trees. You'll see on Arthur Avenue, we have 24 trees planted there. On Jensen, we did another, I believe, it was like 24 trees, and then the remaining trees are on Fruit Avenue. It's the larger stretch. So please take a look, go out there, visit the site. You'll see all the beautiful trees. I'll go into the tree varieties a little later in the slide show, but we have 5 different varieties we planted throughout Southwest Fresno. Our community event was on Halloween. We partnered with several organizations, nonprofits. We partnered with the mayor's initiative, Keep Fresno Beautiful. We partnered with EMP, Every Neighborhood Partnership, SGC. We partnered with Clean Fresno and Tree Fresno, a vital partner in this project. The event was called Keep Fresno Beautiful. You'll see pictures here. We started at 8 a.m. at Tubman Park. We had volunteers show up at Tubman Park. We had 15 trees there. It was an exciting and very exciting. And we encourage our residents to show up dressed up because it is Halloween. So we did have some kids dress up, and it was nice. We gave out candy bags, and we socially distanced and followed all state and local COVID guidelines. You see more pictures. Yes, that is me on the left top picture. That's me in my little flamingo hat. But you'll see several families enjoying just planting trees out there. You know, most people, you might assume it's easy to plant a tree. It's not that easy. So it was very informative. We taught them, we educated them about what kind of trees we planted, how to plant trees, the correct way to do it, how far, how deep. So we got a lot of positive feedback from our residents in Southwest Fresno. The next event, it was a 3-part event this on Halloween. It was at Kearney Park. It was a trash cleanup. Same thing there. We didn't plant trees there. It was just a trash cleanup. We encouraged our residents to come out and help us clean up the park for the community there. We also had a great turnout there. The last part of this great weekend, Halloween weekend, was Chandler Park. We planted another 15 trees there, and we did trash cleanup. It is a larger park than Tubman, so there was enough work for everybody. So you'll see from the pictures, we had a lot of volunteers, a lot of good feedback. A lot of these residents actually got to plant the tree directly in front of their house on the park strip. So a lot of you, like the little girl on the left-hand side with the police officer, that tree is directly in front of her house. So for the next 10, 15, 20, 30 years, she gets to see that tree grow. She did all the hard work, and with our help from the Fresno police officer. So they were out there also. They were helping out our residents, and they did a great job out there with community outreach. You'll see more pictures here of our crews going out there, just, helping them out. The trees are heavy, so we had our crews out there just making sure that nobody got hurt. We didn't want anybody getting hurt out there. So more pictures. So project update. So far, this whole project is 295 trees for the Southwest Urban Forest Expansion. To date, we have 150 trees planted on Jensen and fruit buffers. We planted 15 trees in Chandler Park and another 15 trees in Tubman. So that's 180 trees out of the 295. Coming soon, we have 115 trees that will be planted in median islands. Those median islands consist of Jensen between 41 and MLK, and Elm, Jensen and Ventura. And then we anticipate to start in February. There's a lot of irrigation work that needs to be done in the median islands. We need to do some of those pop-up sprinklers. We need to take those out, do some drip irrigation for these trees, especially here in Fresno summers. We all know how hot it gets here. So in order for our trees to fully grow, we need the correct irrigation. So we hope to start February, and we hope to finish in March of next year. So that's project 11. Tree varieties. We have a combination of 5 different trees. We have some valley oaks we planted, crepe myrtles, golden rains, Chinese pistache, and bay leaf trees. Chinese pistache right now, you'll see them throughout the city of Fresno, also in Clovis, and throughout the Central Valley. In fall, winter, they lose all their leaves, so they might look dead, but they're not. They'll come back early next year, bright green, and then during fall, they turn colors to orange and red. Crepe myrtles, around this time, you chop the top off, so then you just have branches there, but they're a variety of colors. You get purple and white. Golden rains and bay leaves. Bay leaf tree is related to the ingredient bay leaf, but you don't eat this one. It's just a very pretty tree we love here in the city of Fresno. They're all drought tolerant, and so they'll do very well here in the city of Fresno, especially with our summer heats. So if anybody has any questions, I'm here to answer. Thank you.
Great. Any questions from the committee or any members participating today? If so, just please raise your hand, and we'll be happy to identify you so you can ask any questions of Mr. Ramirez. Okay, going once. We got Matthew. Matthew, I'm unmuting you. Go ahead and ask your questions.
Thank you. It's actually not a question. This is a comment for you, Miguel. I'm Matthew Gillian. I'm the founding director of Inspiration Transportation, and I've been providing transportation for community members in the West Park community, which is at Jensen and Prospect, essentially Jensen and Marks. I have one passenger who has been telling me as I take her down Jensen to basically Jensen and Willow area, she's actually pointed out the trees that are now coming in on Jensen as something new that they're seeing in their community, because the community organizations out there is Los Olvidados, the forgotten ones. And so community members really, they notice things like that, whereas it might go unnoticed in other areas of town. But that is something that she pointed out to me as we were driving down Jensen, new trees coming into our neighborhood. So your work is being noticed.
I appreciate that, Matthew, and also for anybody listening, if you want to plant more trees and you're interested in park strips in Southwest Fresno, Southeast Fresno that you have in mind, but you don't know where to get the funding or where to get the trees, reach out to Tree Fresno. Mona Cummings has a grant, and she's looking for residents that want to plant more trees. So just reach out to Tree Fresno; she'll help you out. So thank you again, and that's Project 11.
Great. We do have one panel member. So Ms. Kelly, you have the floor.
Yeah, this is not a question. This is also a comment. I'm just smiling from ear to ear about these trees in Southwest Fresno. It's music to my ears as a former community organizer in that area, working in the heat and seeing kids play and don't have a place for respite and just sitting under a tree. And it's just beautiful work. I know it's going to take a while for those trees to be grown and in full bloom, but what a way to really brighten up the community and also mitigate pollution as well. So kudos and wonderful job. It's music to my ears. Thank you.
Thank you, Sabrina.
Thank you, Ms. Kelly. And the most important part, I think, of his Miguel's presentation is they're not just trees, but they actually have irrigation. So we're guaranteed that they're going to be growing, and we will have a replacement plan in case some of them don't make it. So thank you, Mr. Ramirez. Any other questions or comments from the committee or members of the public? Seeing none, we'll move on to the next agenda item. Thank you, Mr. Ramirez, for your presentation. Keep up the good work.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Courtney, who's up next?
So up next, we're going to hear from Fresno EOC. They are actually one of our community engagement partners, and they are in charge of, among other things, they are in charge of the development and the migration of our new Transform Fresno website, something really exciting that I've been looking forward to, more user-friendly, a lot more information, and just being a one-stop shop for all things related to the project, to Transform Fresno and all of the projects. So with that, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Chris and Christine from Fresno EOC.
Hi, everyone. Christine Morgan at Fresno EOC, and Chris is going to be showing you all the wonderful website that will be live as soon as we work out some of the bugs.
Yes, thank you, Christine. I'm going to share my screen. Go. I said share. There we go. Okay. Yeah, we've been working on this website for a little while here, and the goals, as we've said, is to make it very user friendly, provide lots of information about each of the projects, and also about the other parts of Transform Fresno, which is anti-displacement, community engagement, things like that. And we just thought we would show you what we've got going on here. We have, like we said, few little accessibility bugs that we're still working to fix, but this will be live hopefully soon, very soon. So without further ado, here we go. Transform Fresno, it's our new website. We want to give a little bit of information about everything here on our homepage. You know, you can get to know more about it, find out what's going on with your projects. We've got some lovely updates, which are already filling in, groundbreakings, salsa recipes. Would be great to get to Miguel's presentation there, and we can actually work that into the site as well soon. Upcoming events, as well as the projects themselves, and of course, then we've got our footer with the funding and all these extra links here. We have a newsletter that you can subscribe to, and this is makes it very easy to get to and such. So I'll go through the menu real quick here. Under our home, we've got more information about Transform Fresno, community engagement information, displacement avoidance, and I'll go through these in a second, but just want to go across. Under projects, we've got all the projects, the map that we've had previously, but it's still here. Project updates, so it's a list of any of the updates that are coming along, as well as the newsletter. And we keep archives of the previous newsletters here, as well as the sign-up form. Under the calendar, of course, you'll find things like this meeting is on the calendar, and then any kind of archives from previous meetings can be found here as well. Contact form, in case you want to get in touch with Courtney or any of the other projects, as well as our Facebook. We now have a Facebook page. We now have Instagram and YouTube, and you can find these live right now at Transform Fresno /Transform Fresno, etc. So we'll take a quick look here. We've got some of the same information that we've seen before, just a new presentation of what we had previously. And I'll just kind of scroll through real quick. The project map so you can click on these and see where exactly each one is. It's a fun little map, and you could actually click on this and it would take you directly to the project page, which we'll look at shortly. Community engagement, the community engagement plan. We've got the summary here as well as the full plan, some meeting questions and comments from the past, things like that. Displacement avoidance. And we're speaking earlier today about other things that we're going to start adding to this, including some recommendations and other meeting information as well. Okay, and so under projects, here's the big fun part is a listing of all the projects. So we've got all of our, we don't have all of them yet, but we've got most of our projects here ready. And as we begin to fill things in, we can kind of replace some of these more generic photos with things like this lovely rendering from the Monarch at Chinatown. And so, as you can see, we've got lots of projects. And in case you want to come in and you want to find out, let's look at Yeovil. And so we've got this set up to where every project has the same kind of layout, so you can get the same information from each one. You get your address, the category that it falls under, who its partner organizations are, estimated completion. A lot of this is going to be continuing on. So we've got project summaries, details. Some of them have image slides and videos. As we go along, we'll add more to each of the project pieces. Information that we need that you might want to know. Frequently asked questions. So, who can be part of the garden? How much are the plots and things like that? They got lots of good information here in the project partners, Fresno Metro Ministry. Mentions in the news, and we'll be adding these as they come along, as well as any kind of project updates that we can post here as well. Keeping a little bit of a timeline of project progress as well. And then lastly, we've got a map to the location as well as the contact information. If you want to call or email the direct contacts for each of the projects, this is the way to do it. Let me see. We've got the projects map here, where if you want to, you need to know if your address is within the boundaries, you can type your address in here and it will let you know whether you're inside or out. But it gives you all of the different projects here, and they're all listed across as well. Project updates. This is the things like what's happening. We want to keep the community involved and know what's going on. So as things go, we'll want to add more and more stuff here. We'll add our videos that we're making. We'll add any kind of presentations that we can put up here as well. Excuse me, the newsletter. Let's see. Sorry, the development server is a little bit slow. Call the progress report. We've got the last couple of issues here available, as well as a sign-up list. Kind of typical stuff here. We'll take a look at the calendar. All right, here's our meeting. We'll obviously we'll keep any of the meetings up here. Any kind of events that the projects have that they want to send to us, we can add it here as well. We would love to add all of the events to this calendar as they come along. It gives you information on where to register for the Zoom, things like that. And of course the previous meeting archives, things from the last meeting. And we might be working with us a little bit to highlight the videos a little better, things like that. And lastly, of course, our contact page makes it nice and easy to send an email and say, hey, what's going on with this? Or I'd like to get more information about this project, etc. And so the goal, like I said, was to make things easy to get to, easy to find, and give as much information about each of the projects as we can, as well as progress of each of the progress with the updates and how things are going and how great things are looking already, and seeing them grow along, hoping that eventually each of the project pages kind of give us a little bit of a timeline, if you will, of what's happened in the past and what's coming soon. And then of course we've got our links to the social media pages. But that's what we got coming. And again, we are hoping to have this live for everybody in the next few days. I should hope. The goal was to have it by tonight, but we ran into a couple of little bugs, and so we're still working those out. So any questions or comments on?
One question for me, would this website allow us to post the videos from our community meetings onto it?
Absolutely, yes. That is, as I think I was hoping to get to this, but we've got links right now to the, do you mean the live meetings or?
Or just, are you planning to archive them there?
Yeah, they'll be archived. Yeah. So right now we just have links to them, but the goal is to kind of put together a page that has the meetings themselves, where clickable videos.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yep, absolutely.
Any other questions from the panel? I see.
Chris, Miguel, I do.
Oh, hi.
Hi. Chris, I put in the chat and somebody reminded me that we've got to do this out loud for the record. We have community members who like to get their information by mail or by phone. So is there an option for community members to sign up to have a newsletter mailed to them?
Yes, actually, we currently do mail out the newsletters as well as email them, and so we will continue to do that. The sign up page has a space for address, and so as long as we have the person's address, it will get mailed. Or I'm not sure if we have a specific list, Courtney, or
yeah. So
maybe I need to add that to the newsletter sign up form. Would you like this by mail or by email? So
Thank you. That's a great idea. Thank you, Sandra, for mentioning that. We do have a short list of people that have asked to be have hard copies mailed to them of correspondence, and I have a very small list, and we do that. But if someone were to give us their email address, we would automatically think that they would want this via email. So maybe Chris, you can have them check a box and say if you prefer that to be mailed, then we can mail that.
Yeah.
Great suggestion, Sandra. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Any other questions from the committee or the members of the public? I see Ms. Kelly, you have your hand up.
Yes, I was wondering if this site is live now, and if it is, will the other transformfresno.com site be taken down? Because when I'm looking online, there is transformfresno.com that's still up.
Yes, we're working on this on a development staging server right now, but it will migrate to transformfresno.com.
Okay, so it'll replace that existing site.
Yeah, the same. It'll use the same address. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I had a question. If we wanted to contact somebody, this is Morgan Doizaki with Chinatown, but if we wanted to contact, like, is that the best way to contact is just a neutral? If you go all the way to the right on the screen and click on contact, how do we get a hold of each project people?
For each of the
not going to
projects. Sorry, let me jump to one of these here real quick. Say we'll start with the project number 1 here. We scroll down to the bottom of each of the projects. There is a project contact. There's an email form as well as a phone number for Christina Husbands, who is the direct contact for this project. So each of the project pages has this project contact information to where you can directly contact the who's running the project itself, rather than kind of a general Transform Fresno email.
Thank you.
Okay.
Miguel, somebody wrote in the Q&A about translation. Is it going to be translated and the website translated in Spanish and Hmong?
Good question for the designers.
Indeed, it is. It is. It's not currently part of the immediate plans to translate, but it is something that we would love to be able to do. So we just need to talk about what that takes and then be able to kind of move forward from there. So hopefully in the future we'll be able to do that as well.
So maybe you can share a little more about the urgency or where that is in the scheme of things on the design side, given the diversity of our communities. I would think that we'd want this accessible to the various speaking languages in our community, especially in Southwest Fresno. So where can you share a little bit about where you are in this, what is needed to make that happen?
Well, there's mainly what is needed is to set up a system to where it can switch between the languages. So then it just requires the actual translation. Just there could be quite a bit to translate, but so it's kind of a larger project to talk about, and I think we need to kind of get together with our team to discuss if we want to look at that as something that's fairly urgent. We can do that, but we just need to get together and talk about it.
Any other?
Go
Real
ahead,
quick,
yeah.
I'll just provide one update. When a person has their language set on their browser, like let's say my native language was Spanish, all of my computer settings are set in Spanish. So if I go to an English written website, there's a translate button at the top, and it'll ask, do you want to translate this web page in my language? So that's one option for now, but we'd like to see how transformfresno.com is using it currently, and how they're, that's one part where we haven't looked to see what transformfresno.com is currently using for translation, and we'll do the same thing that has already been in place.
Yeah. I don't think anything is in place at this point.
Any other
We can
questions
definitely
from the
make
public? I have one more. We'll go to the hands up in the public. Grecia?
Hi, good evening, everyone. I just wanted to kind of just elevate that issue of the translation. I think one specific item of that is just ensuring that the translation is adequate, because one thing I've noticed with that that usually it's a Google feature at the top of a website that translate it, is it doesn't do the best job in translating. And so ideally, whether the website decides to use that feature just to kind of have some, as we're adding phrases that just kind of, you end up losing the entire message in that piece. So I think ideally it would be great to have it directly translated, but I know that's more work, but making sure at the very minimum that a Google translation, for example, makes sense when a native Spanish or Hmong speaker is reading it.
Thank you for the feedback. Any other questions and feedback for the developers? Thomas, Destiny?
Yes, thank you. I'll be brief. And hi, Garcia. I was going to make the same comment. And EOC and Thriving's group are working in tandem and very closely. So if you'd like support with the translation effort, we do have an on-the-ground language justice team that uses the dialects in Fresno for both Spanish and Hmong. So let us know. And then in addition to that, I think we may need to, if this isn't already there, make sure that the graphics, because there are a lot of images, have the feature activated where screen readers can describe what is in the picture for people who have vision impairments.
Yes, that's taken into account for all the images.
Perfect.
Yep.
So just to touch on that topic, thank you, Dr. Thomas. We are actually going to be working on ADA compliance. That's the next step in before we can get the website live. We're already using what the city of Fresno uses on their website. So we're going to wait and go through that process to see how this website ranks before we can make it go live. Thank you for that.
So just a cautionary tale, the city's about to upgrade its own website. And if you wait for us to do anything, it might be a couple of years. So I say just move forward and don't wait for the big elephant in the room to update its own website.
Thank you.
All right, next person I see with the hand up is, I see no more. So we'll move on to the next agenda item. Thank you all for the feedback. Thank you to designers. I hope you took that input. And thank you, Dr. Thomas. And now we'll move on to the next item. Courtney?
So I wanted to go a little bit out of schedule and give brief update very quickly before we give it over to Dr. Thomas. I want to ensure she has as much time as she needs to go over her information. So I'm going to do a quick, very high level project or update of all projects for you. So I'm going to start with project 1, the Chinatown housing project. So this project broke ground in September 2020 and construction is underway. Construction will take approximately 18 months to complete, and it's anticipated to be complete by the first quarter of 2022. The Fresno Housing Authority is also in the middle of choosing a local artist to provide artwork on and around the new housing complex. And community engagement for surrounding improvements in the form of lighting and landscape has begun, and the design work has been started. So for project number 2, the Fresno EOC, they've completed 34 homes where weatherization and education services were provided to reduce energy costs. There are an additional 9 homes pending completion, and they've also installed 13 residential solar systems with 7 in the pipeline ready for installation. This project has been put on hold, unfortunately, due to the pandemic, but additional weatherization and solar installations are planned for the next 6 months as soon as it's safe to resume program services. Project number 3 is our Grid single-family solar partnership. So since the start of the project, Grid has completed 16 single-family home installations with 8 additional homes in the pipeline for installation. Grid has also trained 60 individuals for solar installation. Grid hopes to complete 10 additional single-family solar installations within the next 6 months and train an additional 15 people in solar installations. Unfortunately, this project also has suffered a little bit due to the pandemic for recruiting and volunteers for training. Project number 4, which is the Grid multifamily partnership. So Grid has installed 1 multifamily project and 2 additional ones are now in the design phase. They hope to complete those next 2 within the next 6 months. And they will be completing a total of 6 multifamily projects. Project number 5 is the Southwest Fresno Trail project. So since this project began, the city of Fresno has completed all of the necessary CEQA documents and identified the list of potential property acquisition for the project. In the next 6 months, they'll begin purchasing the property needed for the trail, to complete their readiness requirements. And then they'll also start planning to choose a design consultant for the trail through a statement of qualifications process. Project number 6 is our Chinatown Urban Greening project. The city of Fresno has met all of the readiness requirements for this project, and we have held 1 community engagement meeting to date and are planning for 1 more at the first of the year with our design team. Project number 7 is the Clean Shared Mobility Network. The Clean Shared Mobility Network has met all readiness requirements associated with this project, and currently this group is drafting guidelines, technical requirements, and processes for future community engagement to determine where the vehicles and the charging stations will be located. Installation of the first 5 charging stations also have begun. So in the next 6 months, they'll be acquiring electric vehicles and installing additional charging stations, implementing the bike share program, and developing marketing and outreach plans. Project number 8, the Annandale Mode Shift, is by Self-Help Enterprises, and they've prepped the site for construction and finalized approved plans and permits. Construction will begin after the first of the year, and a celebration event will be planned once restrictions on public gatherings are lifted. Project number 9 is the Mariposa Plaza project. Since the start of the project, the city of Fresno has hired and executed a consultant agreement with the design for Mariposa Plaza. A topographic survey, internal kickoff meeting, and multiple stakeholder meetings have been held. In November 2020, the first community meeting was held to gain community input on possible schematics and design features of the plaza. And the design team is currently working on the schematic and geometric drawings right now. Project number 11, we just heard about, so I won't go into that because we've already heard about that. That's the Southwest Urban Forest expansion. Project number 12 is the Yosemite Village Permaculture Garden and Urban Farm Incubator. This we call the Yoville Community Garden, and the project has developed a garden leadership team that's made up of 5 residents from the Yosemite Village complex. This team is actively shaping the garden. Composting infrastructure and storage container have been installed, along with over 1,000 trees, bushes, and plants are currently growing on the site. 22 residents have community garden plots and are growing food for their families. Applications for the farm incubator plots will be open soon, along with community workshops and gardening classes. The team continues to conduct outreach to nearby residents and host weekly volunteer days on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 2 to 5. So if you're interested, go on out. Project number 13, that's the park at Martin Luther King Magnet Corps. Readiness requirements have been met for this project, and a design consultant has been chosen through a statement of qualifications process. We're working through negotiations of the contract and a plan to bring the contract to the City Council in early 2021. We are also working through a purchase and sale agreement with the park property owners. And once we have that completed along with the design contract, we will begin community engagement to discuss design features of the park. Project number 14 is our Inside Out Community Garden. A tool shed, ADA garden box, tools, benches, and composters were purchased, delivered, and installed at the Sunset Community Center site. 5 fruit trees and many seedlings for the garden were planted. Cooking demonstrations and community engagement are taking place via digital platforms and community food drives. Project number 15 is the Yosemite Village Community Orchard. This project has been approved by the Strategic Growth Council, and we are waiting for its incorporation into the master grant agreement, along with several other projects. The project will be planting 120 nut and stone fruit trees on the Yosemite Village Community Garden site. Projects 16 and 17 are the Southwest Fresno Community Food Hub, Urban Heat Island Mitigation and Edible Food Rescue Composting and Distribution Project. This project is in the revision stages with SGC, as we had to get a new project lead, and we hope to have an approved project to incorporate into the master grant agreement by the end of the year. The location of these projects will be on the St. Rest Baptist Church campus, providing a distribution site and commercial kitchen for the expansion of the Fresno Metro Ministry Food to Share program. Project number 18 is the Fresno City College West Fresno Satellite Campus. The groundbreaking for this campus was held in October, and construction on the site has begun. State Center Community College will continue their outreach efforts geared toward expanding the local workforce through partnerships with contractors and trade workers working on this project. Construction is slated to be completed in time for spring 2023 classes. Project number 19 is the Chinatown PBID project. A consultant was hired for a feasibility study to determine the possibility of instituting a Chinatown property-based improvement district. Property owner meetings are planned for January 2021, and the feasibility study should be done by March of 2021. If recommendations are made to move forward, we will begin the public hearing and voting process for property owners in Chinatown. Project number 20 is the Plus Up Vehicle Replacement and Incentives Program. 15 electric vehicles have been provided to households within the TCC project area by Valley Clean Air Now, and additional vouchers will be provided in the next 6 months for more electric vehicles. Project 21 is our TCC connector project. There have been delays to construction for the electric buses charging station due to the pandemic. However, we will be increasing the frequency of Route 38 from downtown Fresno to Jensen and Cedar from 30 minutes to every 15 minutes, and that will start January 4th, 2021. Project 22 is our Southwest Offsite improvements. The City of Fresno has selected a consultant for design and will be coordinating with the Fresno City College West Fresno campus and developers on right-of-way dedications and design work for the infrastructure improvements. Our next project is our workforce development project, the truck driver training. So Fresno Area Workforce Connection has created a recruitment flyer and pre-screened 20 potential candidates for the truck driving school. They are now working on procurement of the vehicle. In the next 6 months, hands-on training will begin, and there will be an ongoing community outreach, student graduation, and program completion. The next workforce development project is our welding program. The welding program, led by the State Center Community College District, has been approved by SGC and will be incorporated into the master grant agreement, hopefully by the end of the year. The program currently has an anticipated start date of February 2021, and will start the recruitment process for participants for that program. For the community engagement plan, all community engagement component contracts have begun work. The current Transform Fresno website, as you saw, is being revamped. Here's just a few highlights. The Transform Fresno Summit will be open to the public and is planned for March 2021, so be on the lookout for information about that. Direct mailing and outreach related to community input and data collection is also underway. And for our leadership development side, a cohort of 12 young people will begin their leadership development training through Youth Leadership Institute and Fresno EOC, and that will start in 2021. Our Green Trails project, which is a bicycle education project, the U.S. Green Building Council of Central California has held 1 in-person and 3 virtual bicycle education workshops, held 1 video competition to get public service announcement videos on bicycle riding, created a website with bicycle and bike to school information, and is conducting 1 survey regarding biking to school. The U.S. Green Building Council will be collaborating with local schools in Fresno State for a survey and bicycle education events in the future. And our last project is our displacement avoidance plan, and that transitions me into introducing Dr. Destiny Thomas from the Thrivance Group. She is going to be presenting on displacement avoidance plan work and the exciting things that her and her team have been doing in Fresno. So with that, I'll go ahead and turn it over to you, Dr. Thomas.
Courtney, I know that was a really long update for the public and the committee. Will your update also be posted on the website?
I can definitely do that.
Let's do that. So in case people want to follow through, I know we have a couple of folks here that like to get into the details of every project status. So thank you with that. Dr. Thomas, you have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you both. Let's see, do I have screen share capability?
Yes, you do.
Perfect. You know me well. Honestly, I've learned my lesson from past meetings that I should not prepare long-winded presentations. So there's a bit of irony here. I will share this slide that I share every time that I present to just remind folks of the sort of laundry list of displacement avoidance plan action items that the Thrivance Group has taken on. This slide is not necessarily current. As you may remember that the bolded areas are the areas that we were actively working on the last time we met in September. We have moved down to the third segment of this list, and so I'm happy to announce that our research team has finished all of the archival research that we need for our policy recommendations. The only other puzzle piece that's going to go into that is the feedback and recommendations that come out of our community design design labs. So this week we mailed out a total of 9,000 of these flyers to every residence in the Transform Fresno project area that we had an address for. And it's going to be probably difficult for folks to see, but you will get this in the mail. And basically it informs every resident of the 4 ways they can contribute feedback and guidance for the displacement avoidance policy recommendations that we plan to finalize and share with the city of Fresno in January. The 2 pieces that I'd like people to pay close attention to are the virtual policy design workshops. We initially set out to do these in person. Of course, COVID-19 happened, and then we discovered what it's like to experience a Zoom bomb. And so we have pivoted once more and created a format for community engagement that is easier to access for both elders, people who don't speak English, as well as people who just feel uncomfortable with civic engagement through Zoom. I'm one of those people. So our 30-minute on-demand housing policy workshop will go live on January 1st. That same policy workshop video will be run in real time through community workshops twice in January. And what we'll do is, for the on-demand access of the video, when residents access it, the video will have sort of survey tools embedded in it. So at various sections of the video, it will stop, a question will pop up, it's interactive. The person watching it can select their option, and then it moves on to the next section of the video. So in addition to this being interactive, it's also very much a data collection effort. When we do the live version of this, that survey or interactive tool will not pop up. The Thrivance Group team will actually be there in person or on the Zoom to engage in discourse with residents. And again, both of these options, I don't know if I mentioned this, both of these options will be made available to Spanish-speaking residents, English-speaking residents, as well as Hmong-speaking residents. The third way to get involved is through what we've been calling the Transform Fresno Infohub. We have 2 types of Infohubs. We have a business Infohub, which is all of the sort of essential businesses that are still open during COVID-19 across Fresno, not just in the project area. And then we're also going to roll out a sort of community ambassador Infohub. And how this works is we've had a team that's been pretty much calling every business that's been open during COVID-19 to arrange MOUs. And once that business signs the MOU with us, they get an Infohub kit of parts. That kit of parts comes with an A-frame that is outside of the business when the business is open, and it has a QR code. When people walk up to it with their phone, they hold the camera up, and it brings them directly to sort of a landing page that allows them to quickly give feedback on the policy recommendations that we're going to be proposing. They'll also have a window decal, so if the business is closed, people can still access that information through the window. And then they'll have, because we do have a number of residents in Fresno that are more comfortable with hard copy forms of engagement, so they'll have a branded Infohub box that will make maintenance arrangements for collecting that data in a timely fashion. The fourth way for residents to get involved is through our oral history project, which I'm not going to take time to talk about today because we're trying to wrap up the policy recommendation pieces, and then we'll refocus back on oral history in January, also because we want to see how much further we can go in with the COVID-19 crisis before we completely shift our plans on that. I do want to share one other thing. We've had some folks on the ground doing sort of a strike team analysis of current conditions in terms of displacement in the project area. We are getting reports of entire buildings having high vacancy rates and excessive dumping, which are signs that we are very far along in the phases of displacement in this project area. Our concern is that both the engagement that's going into policy recommendations, as well as the engagement that is going to be resulting in public feedback for the other projects, may not be reflective of the community that will eventually be there when these projects are done. So we've created a engagement strategy guide, not just for us, but for the entire project team, that sort of lays out guidelines for talking about projects within the context of what is the prevailing priority of the community that we're working in. And what we found is that regardless of what the project is, residents want to talk about the likelihood that they're going to be displaced because of it. So we've given our project partners guidelines for how to talk through those issues. I've given this presentation to them, so I won't go through the tool right now either. But there's one other piece that I want to share with you, and this is something that I will also be sharing with Fresno residents. We actually created a rubric for both residents and project teams to understand which types of engagement are most appropriate to have during different phases of displacement in a community, and how to analyze and assess the level of displacement that's happening. So I believe that's where we are. We have been doing a lot, as Courtney mentioned, and I tried not to over prepare for today, so I'm probably leaving a ton of things out, but pretty much we're still on the ground. We're wrapping up our research, and the last piece of it is community voice, which is the part that we're most excited about. Thank you.
Any questions for Dr. Thomas? All right, I see nobody in the public. And any panel members?
I don't have a question, just a comment. Thank you for the summary. And I'm interested in the community voice piece as well.
Yeah, we're it's really important to us that that piece isn't lost in the mix of COVID-19. And so for folks who don't know, our displacement avoidance contract does expire in January. And so in addition to the policy recommendations, the city of Fresno will also be getting a long-term sustainability plan because we do think that this work is going to have to happen more intentionally, of course, after January. So we'll do our best to incorporate as much community voice as possible. Luckily, we were on the ground so much in the beginning that we feel like we do have a pretty good sense for the types of interventions that residents are asking for and that they would be most comfortable with. But it certainly isn't a democratic process, and it certainly isn't true civic engagement because of the circumstances that we're living in. But y'all know we're a very values-oriented organization. So you can kind of guess what you'll get from us in terms of policy recommendations. And I can tell you that they're based on some very comprehensive and deeply thought out case study analyses, not just of Fresno, not just of California, but of other geographic typologies and community configurations that are similar to the areas that we're speaking of. But we do need a long-term sustainability plan, hopefully also with some interest in reclaiming residents that have already been displaced.
Thank you. And we just have one question, I think, from Matthew in regards to the amendments that are being made to the master plan. At what time did the process of making these amendments begin?
So I'll go ahead and take that. The amendment process just, it starts and stops depending on changes to the projects. And so that there's a difference between an amendment to the master grant agreement and a modification to their project. Modifications are a little bit less cumbersome and don't have to be re-signed into the master grant agreement. They're not as substantial of a change. There is a threshold when it becomes an amendment. And the reason why we have to go through an amendment process right now is because there have been significant changes to the projects. For instance, a new project lead, a new project location, new project intent, things like that. Those will trigger an amendment at whatever time they're moved forward. So hopefully that answers your question, Matthew.
Thank you. All right. Any other questions from the panel members or the public? Seeing none, this concludes this item. Courtney, is that our full agenda for this evening?
That is our full agenda. I thought I had a full agenda, but we just rushed through it. Good job, team.
You tricked me into not having a long presentation tonight.
I expected it to be longer.
No. There's nothing more dangerous than you all between me and dinner. So thank you all for keeping this short. It's been a long day and a long week. And tomorrow we have a council meeting early in the morning. So we'll have another full day of activity. So thank you all for joining us today. To the public, the 33 members of the public, the 18 panelists who participate in this TCC meeting. And we'll see you next time. When's the next meeting, Courtney?
The next community meeting is actually the second Wednesday in March. We will also be sending out a list of when all the next community meetings are for the public, so you can get those on your calendars to make sure you don't miss them.
Great. Well, thank you all for participating. And yes, go ahead.
I have a quick, so in the chat, several people asked about the trees. What are the long-term plan? Real quick, the city of Fresno will keep an eye on the trees. If we see they're stressing, we'll add more water. If they do die, we'll replace them. Just look at any trees on Shaw Avenue and the Mackenzie Trail. So we'll keep an eye on them.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you for answering that, Mr. Ramirez. Thank you all and have a good evening, and hope to see you next time. And if I don't see you before Christmas, have a Merry Christmas.
Thank you all.
Thank you all.